Hey everybody, welcome back to the Proton Pack is Not a Toy. Today I've got the patient on the table and we're going to be making some of those changes I talked about to convert this to being more geared toward a Ghostbusters II 1989 pack. So I've got the parts laid out and the screws and bits and everything that I need, and hopefully I'll knock this out pretty quick. And if you'd like to watch, then continue watching this video. Appreciate you guys. So I'm just going to kind of be out of frame while I'm working at it, and kind of talk through it as we go. So just so you know, that's intentional. And eventually we'll have this opened up and might do a little bit of work on the inside, might not today. We'll see. So we'll see how the stuff on the exterior goes to start with. So with that being said, one of the things that I did in an earlier video that I talked about, I chopped the head off of a screw so that I could mount that in here, not so permanently, in the end of the ion knob, shock mount, whatever you want to call it. So one of my viewers suggested I use hot glue so that it would be something that could be taken off rather easily. So I'll put a dab of that on here around the little nail. Not a big hot glue user, so if I burn myself or whatever, then enjoy the laugh. The stringiness of it is not a whole lot of fun, but so I'll try to get that centered on there. Hopefully it won't have too much in it. Just gonna hold that down. So I'll let that sit while I'm working on some other stuff, and then I'll come back and check on that. One of the other things that I bought was a different P-clamp, which is, when this is closed, it makes the shape of a P. So that's where it gets its name. It's a ribbon cable clamp up here on the booster frame. So just have to remove the screw from this one. And I believe if what GhostbustersFans.com shop is saying is correct, the smallest one is what is correct for Ghostbusters 2. So I might have to go back and double check the angle on it. Sometimes they're angled upwards, sometimes downwards. But I'm just going to replace this one the way that I have it for now. That is a long screw. All right. So let's check to see if indeed that is a different size than what I already had on the pack. I don't know if you can see that. One is quite a bit bigger than the other. So this is the one I had on there. I'm taking that one off. I'll go ahead and run the clamp over the ribbon there. And the ribbon cable is something that I want to address as well. This is, as far as I know, the cable that I need for a Ghostbusters 2 pack. It is different from Ghostbusters 1. But there's a hole that it runs in through the back here. And I've always used that as my way to get in to the pack to turn the lights on and off, the battery power. And I'm thinking about actually making the change on the back of the motherboard, drilling a small hole back there to where I can just access the button for the battery back there, so I stop having to take the ribbon cable out so often. And that's the thing I was kind of referring to when I talked about maybe making some changes to the inside. I don't have my drill up here ready to go, so if I do that, I'll have to go get some different stuff to drill into the Mobo. Alright, so that screw's going in pretty easily. Ribbon cable is used to being in that bigger clamp. Let's see how this does. I don't have a workbench, so I'm using this black card table. Sorry if it makes it hard to see the differences between the table and the pack itself. I'm working with what I got. Most of this pack I built basically on the floor, on the carpet. So if you don't have a workshop and you don't have tons of tools, you can still achieve a good looking Proton pack just with what you got. And I wasn't lying about this screw being long. Maybe I'll get a smaller one day and put that in there. Let's see, got a little ways to go. You know what? The head on this clamp, the hole is bigger than the screw that I had on there. So, back that out a little bit. I might need to put a washer on there. Really don't want to take that whole screw back out again. It's close, but that screw head fit right through there. Clamp bent a little bit too. There. I'm just going to angle it a little bit so it'll clamp down on the edge of the metal. This is what I assume to be the easy part, and that's what you're going to learn from pack building if you've never done it before. If you assume something's going to be easy, it's going to take you twice as much time as you thought. So we are in here now. New part installed. From the angle you guys are looking at, I don't know if you can see the next part I'm going to do, so I'm going to turn the back this way. Alright, can you see? This is what I'm talking about here with the cable. I've got some electric tape in there, and the hole's right down here. Yeah, I usually just run it through there, just enough to where you can't see the tape, so it's in the hole. And then anytime I needed to turn the battery on and off, pop that in, out of there, have access to the inside of the pack, then I could put it back in there and hide it. So it was a good workaround. I'm getting kind of tired of doing that, and then part of the reason is since I changed the battery after Halloween, I've always had the battery just haphazardly taped in there with electrical tape. Now I tried to put it back in there with a new one in the same way, but it slides in there more than the other one did, so the weight of it is not doing well with the electrical tape. So when I do take this open here in a bit, I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. But for now, if you can see, I've got this gray crank knob on here, and I'm going to use my little bit set here that I got from Walmart for like $8. This is a 44-piece precision bit set, is what it's called, Hyper Tough. I bought this a couple of months ago, but it comes with the little screwdriver and all the tiny little bits that every now and then you run across, like for the set screws in the crank knobs. I'm replacing the gray one right now with the black one here. I've already picked out the right bit, but that's the one. I mean, this is the kind of set of stuff that you don't have to go digging through a toolbox trying to find something small enough, or going through the a lot of people have the small screwdrivers for their eyeglasses. This has multiple different heads and styles, and for $8, it was hard to beat. So I did earlier, just to check, when I was checking out the bits here, I was looking at my new crank knob. Only had one set screw in it, and it's supposed to have two, 45 degrees apart, or 90 degrees apart from each other. So I've already taken one of them out of this one. I'll put it back on here just so I can kind of show you what I was doing. But this originally did have two in it. I've got another one somewhere, I just didn't want to look it up or find it today. But that did have two, and this one only had one, so I've already borrowed one. One's kind of a brass gold kind of color, and the one that came out of here is more of a silver color. But if that's the kind of detail you're going into, then you're better than me if you want to make sure that everything is exactly right. So I've always had it just mounted here on a bolt that is going through from the back. It's kind of like the way that it is on the Ramus pack that sold for Profiles in History, the Hero pack, the Spengler pack. It's actually missing its crank knob. So that's how we know how that one was mounted. So real easy. Like I said, it's got the two set screws on there. I just tightened this down. And this has no function. Some people have their volume control for their lights and sounds. Well, for the sounds, obviously, on the back side of this, and so they can actually turn the crank knob and turn up the volume. I'm not to that level. So if you're able to do that and that's something you want to do, go for it. That's a cool idea. If I had the skills and the knowledge on how to do that, I might eventually one day try to do that. But this one is just decorative. So I've had the gray one get loose before, so I'm going to be pretty tough on those set screws, and so the crank knob isn't really going to turn a whole lot because I don't want to lose it. And if I wanted to, I could go in and I could glue it on the back to make sure it stays. If it becomes a problem, I might do that, but today's not the day for that. So let's check the glue here. Yeah, it's not really holding yet. So made a nice blob on the back here and dried reapply that. Put it more on the actual knob there. Try not to use too much. Fun stringiness. Get back in because I still don't know if I'm done yet. I might not have done it right this time either. And so you don't have to be perfect when when you're working on your packs. Just clog the hole there. It's a learning experience. You're gonna find things that kick your butt. And that one worked a lot better that time, so that's done in there. And now I'm kind of to the point where I'm going to take off the shell. So with that being said, I think I might just remove this part so it can sit off to the side and not be bothered while it dries. Hopefully it dries. So, put up my small tool set here. The reason I'm taking it apart and opening up the shell, one is because I'm changing out the side screws that hold the shell onto the motherboard on the L brackets. And so I've got these screws that are about 1.25 inches long. I painted off the top of them. They're pan head screws. So did not do a completely awesome job on that one. But I might have to go back later and kind of touch these up a little bit. But we'll call it weathering if we want to. And then I bought some longer ones, and I'm going to use those in the bumper. When I was testing out the bits that I was going to need to take off certain ones of these screws, I didn't realize that the ones I have mounting the pack to the shell are actually bigger than the ones in the bumper. So, but we'll see if I might have to waller those out a little bit. Going back to the reason I'm taking this off is I'm already going to have to change these screws that are mounted, but these screws on the bumper already have washers and nuts on the inside, so I'm going to have to take the shell off anyway so that I can properly take these off and attach the new ones. So that's the reason for that. So let's start with the bigger one. Kind of sad to be taking these screws out, the mounting screws. They are so easy to get on and off, and I've always been one that changes things inside my pack a lot, or goes inside to check on things. So having that easy access to the inside where it's basically just turn the heads and they come off, but they're secure enough to stay. It's not going to be that easy with the panhead ones, I don't believe. But you're going for accuracy, go for accuracy, right? So that's another one of the reasons I want to address the battery pack on the inside there, because I might not be opening this thing up quite as much as I have been. So it's got 4 screws that mount it basically on the corners of the shell. Got these nice brass spacers on there that won't won't go back on. So I'm going to save all these in case this is what I end up using for my new pack. So I have washer marks on the spots there, but well, okay. So I'm going to take the thrower, put it on the floor, hopefully somewhere where I won't kick it. Alright, so when I take this off, it does have the wiring going to the power cell. I might disconnect that so I have room to lay it down here on the table. Or I might just take the whole Alice frame and put it on the floor too. Here we go. So, some people, go ahead and say this, some people's inside of their packs looks like the inside of the packs from the movie. Mine doesn't. You don't see the inside of the packs from the movies, but they've taken the steps to make it look like the actual packs from the movies when you look at the reference pictures of when the guys built the packs. Mine isn't to that level. My lights are mounted on the back side of the shell here. The ones in the original movie had them mounted actually here on the motherboard, and the shell would come right off. So I'm actually going to disconnect power cell lights here. And get this out of the way for now. Okay. I'm sure that looked awkward on the video, sorry. So just kind of hide that little screw there. Not little screw, that, what do you call it? Cable. Okay. So now, like I said, I gotta change the bit here for the bumper. Let's look at it on the inside, see what we got going on there. Carefully turn it over. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and take off this so it can dry. One thing I noticed that I was missing, there's a spacer that's supposed to go in between the bumper and the cyclotron. So I went and actually bought some. I got a 2-pack at Home Depot. I think it might be too tall though. It's gonna be close. So if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, and I'll get something else. But I figured while I was inside here, it'd be a good time to make that adjustment. Okay, so talking about the lenses, mine are just Dixie cups with the wiring on the back of it, because sometimes that's all you need is something simple like that. You don't have to go buy something crazy. If you want to, not judging you, but it's not necessary. Alright, so I'm going to take the washers and the nuts off of the bumper screws here. These screws are quite a bit smaller than I remembered. I think I'm only going to take out one at a time from each side. That way, this thing is clamped down on here. It doesn't fit naturally just right onto the shell. So, kind of afraid of torquing that back on there if I take all the screws off at once. Alright, so how it goes. These also have these nice metal washers on them. I'm going to compare the washers on these. What I'm putting on there that I just painted. I think mine are way bigger. So I might have to end up going and buying some different panhead screws. I might not be happy with these, because that is quite a bit bigger. So it might not have the right size. So, but I might just go for it. Actually, I'm not going to be able to use that because it's a Phillips. So we used to use them the socket head screws. Let's see. Let's dig that out a little bit. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut the video for a minute and do a little research and just double check to make sure that I have the right size screws that are supposed to go into the bumper. I don't want to be making all these changes for accuracy and then put something wrong in there. So I'm going to cut, and then if I need to widen these out, if this is the correct size, then I'll do that, and then I'll pick back up with you guys here in a minute. Alright, I'm back. So I did the research. This is an important tip I want to share. Anytime that you're not sure or you feel like you're in a hurry, stop, figure out exactly what you need to do, and if you need to give yourself more time to finish a project, don't rush it to get done just because you only have 5 minutes left on something that should take you 10 minutes. Or if you're not sure about something, like I wasn't sure about the sizes of the screws, and if I need to widen the holes, do the research first before, like I almost did, just making the leap and jumping in there. I did look, and I'll post it here so you can see too on ghostbustersfans.com. There's a list of screws, and evidently I had the wrong ones that were a little bit too small in my bumper that were the socket head cap screws, and the ones that I bought that are the pan heads were correct. So they are the 1/4-20, however you are supposed to pronounce that. But I think I had like 1032s or something in there. So those were incorrect. So I did put the right ones in. Now the only thing is I had to find the right nuts and washers to go on the back side. Turns out the ones that, like the brass colored ones that I had on the screws that are too small, actually do fit the screws that I'm putting in. So I can use some of those on the back side. I did, oops, nice move there. I did find some in my extra tools, so I've got enough to make do on that on the back side. So just for the sake of brevity, I've already drilled out the holes and already put the pan head screws in on either side of the bumper. So when I had to do that, so I ended up drilling through with some power tools and using, well, it's just my Black & Decker over there. But as you'll see, you're going to end up with a mess of resin and fiberglass sometimes. So be very careful. Don't get it in your eyes. Don't put yourself in a bad situation by working with these materials. So it went quite a ways through. I don't know if you can see from there, but right here is where we're working at. It went quite a ways through, and that's what I was going for. So I put them in pretty tight. One of them is looser than the others, this one right here, just because I was starting to lose power in my battery there, and so I just drilled out the hole a little bit bigger. And when I pushed these other machine screws through, I was making sure that it was pretty tight in there, and so I wouldn't necessarily need the hardware on the back. I'm going to put them on there anyway on all of them. So that's the step we're on right now. Since I pretty much burned out the battery for now on the power drill there, I'm not going to be drilling holes in the motherboard today. So we'll skip that step for now, but I can go ahead and plan that out. I'll do that off camera and then have that as another build for another day. Another thing that I'm going to do, probably next week, is going to be doing that motherboard neck foam tutorial type deal. And that'll be its own video. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to try to space things out maybe once a week, just based on spare time that I have and activities I have to do. I don't have a whole lot pending since I'm still waiting on a lot of parts from our friends at Max Factory. So there's really no rush getting all these videos done at once. But I have plans, I have things I want to do, but it's not like there's any Comic Cons or Halloween or anything coming up where I'm going to need my pack. So if I need to leave it disassembled for a while, there's no harm in doing that. So, alright. I ended up using a lock washer and I found one wing nut, and so I used that one on the one that was a little bit looser. That way I can keep that one a little bit tighter, whereas these other ones are pretty much holding themselves in place. So that's almost it for this, other than using the new screws to mount to the motherboard. But before I do that, I want to see if the spacer is going to fit through the middle behind the cyclotron here. So I'm going to remove the big screw that goes behind the bumper here. It's a long screw as well. I'm just going to take it all the way out because it needs a washer too. I'm going to see if one of these that just came off these two small screws will fit. So I'm going to hang on to these screws. I might need them for the next build. It's always good. I like cap screws. They're fun. I think more things should use them. They don't strip out as bad as these Phillips screws, and any screw is better than just the slot screws. So, all right, long screw. So let's see, extra washer, Bingo. Okay. Pop that back through, and then flip it over. And see what we're looking at here. As far as space goes. Be careful not to smash things on the opposite side too. Alright. So the screw's coming through a little bit. I just don't know if that's going to fit. If I had taken the bumper all the way off, which I really didn't want to do, I could probably force it on there, but if it's not the right side, I really don't want to force it. Alright, that screw is barely hanging in there. Nope, it just fell out. Okay, let's see if it'll just fit in that gap. Looks like it's a hair too tall. Almost got it in there, but I just don't think it's going to. I'm afraid I'll be scratching up my paint job here. So for now, I'm not going to do that. I might take these back to Home Depot and see if I can get smaller ones that will fit. And it won't be a big deal just to take that back off, just to put that on there. So, live and learn on those. Let's check the glue. Looks like we're good to go on the shock mount. So let's go ahead and reinstall that while we're here. When I was messing with it, it was looking a little crooked, so I'm going to check that as well. I think if I tighten things from the back screw here behind the cyclotron, I can straighten that out. I actually got a pretty big hole here in the bumper, so it's got some give. Might need to just put a little putty or something in there to straighten it out. Alright, I don't want to go too far because I don't want it to get in the way of that little picture frame nail there. Alright, let's tighten it down. Alright, now I'm just going to kind of have it to the side here. Tightening the nut from the back. That way it's tight on both sides. Be careful to not mess up my lights. Alright, I feel it turning there. Crooked, but it's tight. It's on there. So, I'm not going to stress about it. Let's move it out of the way. In just to finish up the video, let's go ahead and put in the screws for the side mounts. What I'm thinking as far as the battery, you can see it's got this stupid tape on here and it started to sag, so it's not working. I'm gonna have to put a hole somewhere. But I'm wondering if I can set the battery up straight up and down, sideways there, and just have that button facing out so I don't have to curl around and push. Here's the button right here. That's what turns on the power. And as you flip this switch, that's what gives the power. You can turn it on through the cyclotron, or I'm sorry, through the wand. So, while that's still working, I'll just slide that up where I intended it before, and we'll just keep living through that hole where the ribbon cable goes for now. Alright, so plug this guy back in rightly. So I have lights on the pack itself. Pick this up. Make sure I'm not getting that cable caught through the outside. Make sure I'm clear of all 4 brackets. Crooked somewhere. Alright, usually when my paint lines up, I'm just about good to go. Just eyeball the screw holes. Alright. So let's put the black ones in. The pan head screws. So I want to say thank you for watching this video. If you've made it this far, I appreciate it. This is kind of how I plan to do the videos for any kind of builds. Just kind of off to the side where you guys really aren't getting great close-ups or anything, but I'll be talking you through what I'm doing. And if I need to do something as a close-up, I will. But it'll just be us just kind of building together. So put one over here first. Building a Proton pack is a lot of trial and error, learning through experience and mistakes, and the help of others. So if you're not on GhostbustersFans.com, I suggest you build a profile there and start looking at other people's pack builds. That will save you a lot of time from other people's experiences and some money for not buying the wrong parts, either from the wrong sellers or just the wrong, like I had the wrong screws there. I probably followed some bad advice from somebody along the way, but the more you can research it, the better your pack's going to be. So I'm just going to hand tighten these in. They're long enough that they're going to do the trick. I don't want to do them too tight on the shell to start causing any damage there. So, seeing some places where I could update some paint there on the edge of the motherboard, but I'm not going to do that anytime soon. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more videos coming up, hopefully pretty soon.